Do you find it difficult to speak in English without hesitation? If so, you're not alone. This is one of the biggest challenges many of us face. It's just that you have to be a little more creative and put in conscious efforts. You have to make it a part of your daily routine. I will be sharing with you some extremely marvelous practical tips to practice speaking in English. And trust me, if you follow each of them every day, English will soon be second to your nature. Tip number 1. This tip you can immediately start after watching this video. Take your phone and change your smart speaker settings into the English language. Your Alexa, your Google Speak, or whatever it is, change the settings to the English language so that you can speak to it in English and also get a response in English. The second tip is an age-old proven technique to practice speaking any language, not only in English. That is the mirror technique. Shut the door of your room, stand in front of the mirror, and start speaking in English. I remember my teachers used to ask us to practice for our allocutions, for our debates, for whatever competitions we were asked to practice in front of the mirror. So stand in front of the mirror and start speaking to yourself in English. That's a wonderful way. And you can add a little more to it by using the next tip. You can plug in earphones so that you are unable to hear what you are speaking. Because what happens is when we start practicing speaking in English, we pause and we stop and we try to rectify the mistakes that we have made. So if you are unable to hear what you speak by plugging in earphones, then you do not stop and the flow continues. Another amazing way of practicing is recording this in your phones. Record what you have spoken. And then after you finish speaking, maybe you can watch the recording and try to find out the areas where you need to improve. The next, a very simple tip. Narrate your everyday life in English. You can talk about your daily activities, how you pass the whole day. You can talk it out with your friends or maybe to yourself or even talk to yourself in your mind. Even if it's not aloud, you can talk about it in your mind. So when you start talking about your daily life in English, maybe with your friends or to yourself or even in your mind, what happens is you start thinking in English. Because what you do is you think in your mother tongue and then you translate the entire content into English and then speak out in English. So in that process, a whole lot of time is lost and then you grow your inhibitions, you grow your hesitation to speak in English. So that is what you can do. Then the next one is the shadowing technique. That's also a wonderful technique, which will not bore you. You'll find it interesting. Switch on to some English film or an English series or even an English podcast on your television or on your phone. Start listening and then at times pause and immediately repeat exactly what has been spoken by a certain character. There you learn by imitation, by shadowing. You become the shadow of the person who has spoken those lines. The next one. I'm sure all of you have experienced this. In school, teachers ask us to stand up and read a portion of the lesson from the textbook, isn't it? Reading aloud. is very, very important. Take a book, take a magazine, take a newspaper, and start reading it aloud. And you can make this more interesting. You know how? You can organize some small conversation sessions with your friends, maybe followed by some fun games. But you can start with a conversation session where your friends bring different books and magazines and newsletters along with them, and each one takes a turn and reads out something from them. That's a great way also to learn speaking in English and also overcome the hesitation, overcome the nervousness of speaking in public. The next one. Friends are people who do not judge you. Friends are people who accept you as you are. So, the best place to practice and hone your speaking skills is by speaking with your friends. Make it a point to speak to your friends in English every day, maybe for an hour, maybe for half an hour, but make it a point to converse with your friends in English every single day. And then I come to the last and the most important technique, the most important tip, in fact, which you will need for all the previous tips that we have discussed today. Find it here. Practice, practice, and practice.